Hello, this is the Metacast podcast. My name is Abby Taub, and I am an outreach member on the team Meta Infinity. And what is your name, and what team are you on or an alumni of?
Hi, Abby. My name is B. Becker, and I'm the co-founder slash alum from 16008, the Armored Artemises from Glastonbury, Connecticut.
So, what are you doing now in school or whatever?
So currently I'm in my gap year. College is expensive, gotta make some money. I'm attending the University of Arizona, located in Tucson, and I'm going to major in mechanical engineering.
So, how did it first influence you in making that decision to go there and study that major?
So I first joined first when I got involved with First Lego League. I always had a passion for Legos, and so the person I actually ended up founding the FTC team with, shout out Harlow, he's great. Um, we ended up starting an FLL team together, and after 4 years of that, we realized we needed another challenge, which is when we moved on to First Tech Challenge. All these years being in first really helped to just bolster my interest in STEM. And after a lot of trial and error of figuring out what specifically I wanted to go into, I realized that mechanical engineering was the best choice for me.
So, when you were in first in FTC or FLL, what was your primary role, like hardware, software, outreach?
For FLL and for FTC, I guess I kind of just bounced around and did everything. Really, what we needed to get done in terms of competitions. So when I first started on an FTC, we were rookies, of course, and only two of us had prior first knowledge. So I ended up working on some minor programming and the bulk of the mechanical design of the robot. But as I started getting older, I started to branch out more and and experiment with outreach. To which I became the team's outreach lead in, I believe, my sophomore year. So towards the end of my FTC career, I definitely ended up more on the outreach side of things, but I'm still, I guess, familiar with all three of the sub teams.
Have you noticed that you use those like outreach skills or those hardware software skills as well in your life now?
Absolutely. My mom calls me the family's engineer by just fixing basic things. Wow, that's cringy. um, but also, I currently mentor a bunch of different first teams. So we have FLL Explore all the way up to First Tech Challenge. Um, so I've been using my prior knowledge from FTC to try to help them out, help them do the best they can.
So, kind of continuing off of that, do you continue to use the skills that you gained in first, hard or soft, in your life?
Definitely. A lot of, I mean, I definitely can say I've learned a lot about the engineering design process and sort of all of that. But I think the most I learned really was just networking and organization within the team. Stress management for sure, because we all know robotics can get a little stressful at times. Um, but being on the team not only helped to improve my knowledge in STEM, but also just like an overall like working on a team and those sort of skills.
So, from all of those skills, what do you think would be the first or the most important one you learned?
I absolutely think that teamwork was the most important skill. Being in the engineering field, you're going to have a lot of instances where you need to work with your peers, coworkers on certain projects. Definitely in college, you'll be working together in labs. Even when you move on to get a job in the real world, you'll have those kind of group experiences and group projects. So I feel like being on these first teams has really helped me learn how I can most efficiently work with my team, and also given me some ideas of how to be a team leader as well.
Okay, so funny question now. Well, sort of funny. So, when you become super smart and successful in the future, obviously all thanks to first, and you build a time machine and go back into the past right before joining your first team, would you join that team again?
That's tough. But honestly, I would. I always say that there's more that you can improve on your past experiences, just something you got to learn from. When Harlow and I first founded the Artemises, we were kind of new to the whole concept of FTC, as we'd only really like watched a competition. And sorry, can you edit that out so I can restart?
Yeah, yeah. hmm I'll just edit it out when I.
Okay. All right. I'll restart then. Um, Honestly, I would say that I would go back in time to join them. I feel like there's always something more that I can improve upon. Being on the FTC team has been such a huge learning experience. Honestly, such a culture shock as well compared to FLL. Um, but the main reason why Harlow and I had founded the Artemises, not only to just gain a better understanding of the engineering world, but also so we could empower women in STEM. Typically known that STEM is a male-dominated field, so we wanted to give others the opportunity to experience that same level of technological skills while being in a safe and supportive environment. Um, what I really wanted to do was to start up more FTC teams in Glastonbury and kind of expand the program. The only like two big first teams in Glastonbury are the Artemises, which are a community team, and then there's also the high school's FRC team. But I really wanted to give more students the opportunity to join robotics, not just having to be forced to join FRC. Sometimes students aren't really comfortable with the idea of being on just one large team with the one large robot. And I feel like FTC is the perfect stepping stone between FLL and FRC. Um, One thing is that Harlow and I had tried to start up another team in Glastonbury. This lasted throughout pretty much like throughout COVID. Um, but towards the end of 2021, they kind of all like fizzled out a bit. And we ended up recruiting two of the girls from that team onto our team, and the rest of them just went their own separate ways. I just really hope that, at least in the future now, we can build up the FTC community in Glastonbury. Was that too long? Sorry.
No, no, that was fine. Yeah, my team can definitely relate to that with our experiences. We're trying to do the same. Um, yeah, so now that you're a little bit out of first as like a competitor yourself, what advice would you give to your current FTC participants, whether it's about advice with planning, strategy, judging, sponsors, engineering, coding, or even just if somebody should join or not?
Definitely join. Even if you're not too sure of it at first, it's such a great experience. It really just opened a ton of doors for me. Even like outside of the engineering world, I got to meet so many great people and make all these new connections. If you're feeling a little bit nervous about it, I say step out of your comfort zone and experiment a bit. I think that being an FTC, when I first started, I was super, super shy and would not talk to anyone. Um, but I ended up being head of scouting and outreach later on, and I honestly had such a fun time with it. You meet these great people, you make new friends from around the world. Um, so if you're feeling a little bit nervous about it, I say go for it. You never know what you'll end up getting out from that experience.
So, um, we've talked about it a little bit earlier about how the engineering field and first also is very male dominated. What advice or words of encouragement might you give to young girls who are starting out their engineering journey in first?
I definitely recommend, even if you have those doubts, go for it. Like I said before, step outside of your comfort zone. Um, you never know, like if you get join like certain clubs or certain classes and you meet another girl in that class and you're like, hey, like would you possibly be interested in this? You can end up starting to gather a really good group of peers that you feel comfortable enough with to, start up a robotics team. That's what ended up happening with me, and some of my other teammates and friends. If honestly, my biggest piece of advice to them would be never be afraid to reach out for help. There are always going to be people out there who are willing to help you, even if it's just like a tiny dispute or something, or if you're really struggling and are too scared to ask for help regarding like a certain like there's a problem, I don't know how to fix it, and I don't want to ask one of my peers. Always reach out. Your mentors are there to help you. And I can guarantee that you will find the right group of people. Just face your fears, girlies.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up with one last question. So, are you still involved with First in any way?
For sure. Oh my goodness. Outside of work, it is literally all I do. So yeah, as I mentioned before, I mentor currently 2 FLL Explore teams. I've worked with, I mean, haven't really directly mentored any like FLO challenge teams. Um, but I've definitely worked with some of them every now and then, even just practice for like judges interviews. And for FTC, oh my goodness, I have to count 7 teams that I've been working with in the past into the deep season. It's been a lot, I'll say, but and honestly, it was a huge culture shock for my team, seeing how like differently how teams work differently. But it was a really great experience. Another thing is that I've also been volunteering a lot. All my Saturdays suddenly not free. Competitions, they last forever. You know what they say about First, nothing ever runs on time. So I'm spending like 12 hours a day dedicated to robotics, but it's okay. It's so much fun. And I definitely look forward to doing it even when I'm down in Arizona for like college. I'll still be looking forward to the volunteering and hopefully helping out some other teams.
Yeah. I know I said one last question, but I did have one more. So,
Yeah.
for fresh alumni or like senior first tech challenge students, how did you get involved in mentoring and how yeah.
Um Honestly, like a lot of these teams were like people that I'm like friends with, and I was like, hey, I'm unexpectedly taking this gap year now, and during it, I want to see if I can help those teams that need more help. And so I kind of just reached out to friends or other mentors that I met, like of other teams while competing these past couple seasons. Another thing you can do is just look on the First website, like look for any teams nearby. You can input your location to see like which teams are registered near you and kind of just reach out and be like, hey, are you looking for mentors? These are my skills. I'd be willing to help. Yada yada. It's super easy, honestly, to get into. And I definitely would recommend it. Not only does it boost your resume, but also it's a really great learning experience, not only for the students, but also for you as a mentor.
Thank you so much for joining our podcast.
Of course. It was so much fun, even though I messed up.
No worries. I hope you have a good day.
Great. Thank you so much, Abby.